High Plains Reader. John?
Hello, everybody. It's more than thrilling and exciting to see a new artist get their launch, but that's what we're all part of tonight, is Brad Berger's first ever launch and his foray into the public. He's been published in the High Plains Reader for years. He's a friend of ours, and we're a fan of his. We've been watching his art evolve since day one. I remember when Brad had a point and shoot. Well, first he had a disposable camera. And shortly you're going to hear from one of his most important patrons. But he had a disposable camera, then he stepped up to a point and shoot camera. And the one thing I've learned about Brad, and eventually he went to film and to digital, and eventually he got his own computer, and he hooked up his own router, and he got his own hard drive, and he started to do all this stuff because his photography necessitated it. But what I've found about Brad is he's about the most coachable person I've ever seen, because I'd give him a basic rule. I'm an old photographer, and I'd say, Brad, go out and take 100 pictures. And he would. All of we called them the hippies. There's Nerve, and there's John Offit, and there's Mike, and there's Schutz, and some of the offspring in the next generation. But all of you folks, you're all family to Brad Berger. Raise your hands. Bohunk made the beer tonight. There's other people here like Mike Miller, who when Brad started and he started taking his photography to Monarch Photo, Mike Miller, who saw what this was coming and recognized the talent. Mike, you're a photographer yourself and have played a big role. Denise Knudsen, let's give a big hand to Denise Knudsen. The last thing I'd like to say is Berger's not going to sell you his art, but please, if you can, buy some of his art. You can, and he's not out to sell, but he does. It wouldn't hurt. And you know, it's not really priced badly at all. But anything you see here, you can get any of these images in any of the sizes you want. So if you see an image you like, go find Denise and just say, I want this one big, or I want this one small. I want this one 20 times for Christmas. You know, that's just go find Denise, and she did all the mounting and all the framing, and she'll take care of that. And we're really pleased as punch. We're so proud of Brad Berger, and we all should be, because he's one of these photos of over here with the pheasant has been on the cover of the North Dakota Outdoors magazine. He's won contests in North Dakota. He just enters them and he wins. You know, because it's such spectacular stuff, and we're going to see this guy go the distance. And you're all here tonight at the very beginning of that distance journey. So at this point, I'm going to pass it over to Brad, and he's going to introduce a real significant patron of his in his art world, and then we're going to have him walk us through his art. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming, and Brad Berger.
I say hi, and the arts community lost a real gem this last week, Bob Krakowski. We could all raise a toast to him. Godspeed. Anyways, I'll put a real speaker on here. Somebody that can actually follow up this previous act. Berger could stop up to the stage and say a few words. Thank you.
Good evening. Let me just start by saying we thank Denise, but another great supporter of Brad all these years, running these great images in the High Plains Reader here tonight. So to everybody from the High Plains Reader, Raul, John, the whole team, thank you and congratulations, and thanks for being our co-hosts and sponsors tonight. So. And I also want to thank Brad Berger. He and I had a chance to know each other for a long time, work together for a long time, and so I'm honored that he's given me the opportunity to say a few words. Tonight's show, Scarce as Hen's Teeth, if you look up the meaning, which I'm sure you all went out and checked online what that meant, you know, it talks about something that's rare and impossible to find. And I think we have that right here in this photography. And I think that and it's also the additional metaphor that some of the images that Brad has captured have come through the fact that in addition to being a photographer, this guy's a hunter. If you didn't know how to hunt, you wouldn't know how to get these photos. One of my favorite stories is when Brad was in the Badlands for a photo workshop with a famous regional nature artist. He said, well, you're out here, yeah, you can do this, and you can, take pictures of that, and take pictures of this, take pictures of these buttes, but there's these bighorn sheep, but they're really hard to find, impossible to locate, and really hard to photograph. And so that's all Brad heard that. Then he just took off and took off, left the rest of the crowd, goes back, out there before the first light comes up in the fog. Boom, you see some of the images here. Comes back, takes better photos than the guy that's holding the class. Anyway, it was it sort of speaks to his the combination of his determination and his his hunting skills as well as his photography skills. But there's a Williams Woodworth, the poet, said, "Come into the light of things, let nature be our teacher." And I think that in one of the things that Brad gives us with all this is nature, if you look at these photos, is our teacher, but Brad Berger is our guide in helping us see things that we maybe wouldn't. The old Chinese proverb which said, pictures worth 1,000 words, they say that was mistranslated. It said a picture can express 10,000 words. And if you look at these photos, I would say if you go around and look at them, then come around and look at them again and let it tell you a story that's in there. One of the great nature photographers of all time, Ansel Adams, said that photographs are often looked at but seldom looked into. And I would encourage everyone tonight, as you get a chance to see the great and brilliant work that Brad has on display here, to really not just look at it, but look into it. And when you look into it, I think you'll learn about nature, but you'll also learn something about Brad Berger. So thank you.
I suppose we can start with the hawk over here. That I took in Island Park, right downtown Fargo. The hawks would come in after every rainstorm, sit on the top of the chain link fence and dry themselves off. And they'd go all through all sorts of contortions down there. And I walked past them many times, and then finally the light bulb went off. It rained today. Drive to the parking lot, look, see if the birds are there. Take your camera out, set up, see what you can do. I just got extremely lucky and caught this one with his mouth open and sticking his tongue out at me. So. The dragonfly, I took breaking all the rules. I was using the wrong lens. It was in the middle of the day. I saw it at a bit of a distance and thought, well, hell, I'll give it a try. And I took the photo, I took it home, and I just tweaked it just a little bit. And I looked at it and I was like, I don't believe this. It actually worked. The eagle was... That I was sitting watching the bird, and I was watching his rump and his tail popping up in the air, and I'm going, it's getting ready, it's getting ready. Just wait for it. And so I managed to push the shutter at just the right moment, apparently. Pheasant photo, we'd raised a bunch of pheasants in the pen, so they were pretty acclimated to me. And so the day we released them, I was out taking photos of them, and one just happened to land in a tree and was sitting up there sleeping. Most of the time I had to wait for him to finally open his eyes and look at me to get a decent shot of him, because it just didn't look right with him sitting in the tree sleeping. Occasionally they'll pin an owl down, and I've had luck doing that once, but a lot of these I just...
Spot an owl?
Yeah, I'm just out driving around looking, and if I see... I'm so accustomed to the trees out there, I dang near named all of them, so if you see something a little out of place, you go over and take a look, and there's usually something there. The immature bald eagle was south of Moorhead, just a little ways. And that was just, it's almost a perfect camouflage job of the bird sitting in the tree. I just looked out my window of the truck, and there it's sitting there. You couldn't hardly miss it. It's a huge bird. The swan was another photo that took a lot of time to get, because usually they stand out in the ice all day and they poop all over the place. And when you get there, it looks terrible. So you have no background to work with. So that came probably at the very end of the year in, I think it was April, March or April. We had one of those late heavy snows. It was pretty cold. And I just went out and sat out there for hours waiting for the bird to do something interesting.